there.
So no from I late in the media cafe me do a line as way I'm a by no say. Nurse fully be brave and fine free almost for me grana me name the beer almost for me say beer. Walk or baby in the bedroom and me will be an and beside was it. Walk or strack, and beside was walk or strack. My bed can understand me will be our Hannah no call. Room ne baako na nkurɔfo gu hɔ bebree nti meka kyerɛ no so memmra ha na menyɛ obi ahwɛ nso still menyɛ obi koraa mmisa m'asɛm koraa wɔ ha no.
A patient from the eastern region lamenting the lack of services as a result of the strike action taken by members of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. More on the story now. Here in the capital city, Safwa Buahin has been going around some hospitals. She's joining us with the very latest on her observations so far. Safwa, what can you report?
So,
Oh, it appears we cannot have her now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes. So I'm currently at the Adabraka Polyclinic, and it appears that the nurses are really on strike, and they have exercised the full industrial strike today because as at today, the OPD, which normally has the nurses checking the vitals of the patients and clients who troop in, are not there. The only tables and chairs that you meet, and just very few of the clients who are walking about, because speaking to one of the administrative staff, they told us that most of the times the place is it has a lot of people, but because they are on the strike, people come here and then they leave to other places as well. So as it stands now, this place seems to be a very quiet place with just one or two patients coming around, and the doctors are the ones who are attending to them, and with no vitals check because we don't have any nurse to do that. So I can see that the dispensary is working, and there are some few consulting rooms that these clients or the patients who come up around are able to go to. But the normal process you go through whenever you go to every hospital in terms of you getting your vitals checked, you going, firstly meeting the nurse who would take you to, or who would instruct you to go to this place first before you finally meet the doctor, that is out. That is not there. So you would have to take it upon yourself to be doing most of the things yourself if you indeed need some treatment of the sort. So this is what is really happening at the Adabraka Polyclinic. We earlier also went to the Legon Hospital, and they also appeared for them. They told us that they are fully there. It looks like we don't have any GRNMA members there. So that is a different story. But for the few that we have been to at the capital here, it looks like the nurses are not at their posts.
Very well.
But we also went to the Ministry of Health, and we have been told that the GRNMA and the Ministry of Health are currently negotiating about this strike. So they are still in a meeting as I speak to you now, and we are waiting for it to conclude, and then we can speak to them on the feedback or what has transpired after the negotiation. So this is what I can say for now with what has been happening so far. Over to you.
Very well, Safwa. Thank you so much for the report. Safwa Buahin visited some hospitals in the capital city, Accra. But there's more turmoil on the labor front. This afternoon, 3 teacher unions, major unions in Ghana's higher education sector, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, the Technical University Teachers Association of Ghana, and the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, warn they will also go on strike if government does not pay exchange rate differentials as well as book and research allowances. The unions say they are deeply frustrated and concerned over the undue delay in the disbursement process. According to a joint statement, the delay has created significant uncertainty among members, many of whom rely on the allowances to fund vital academic and research work. The unions say they will no longer accept any grace period beyond September 25. Government now has up to June 13, however, to release the exchange rate and begin payments, or the unions lay down their tools. Professor Iddrisu Mumuni is UTAG National Secretary. He's joining us for a bit more on this. Prof, good afternoon to you. But let's talk about this issue that has come up strongly this afternoon. Why do you believe the government has consistently delayed the release of your allowances?
Yeah, Hemeni, good afternoon, and thank you for having me on your platform, and good afternoon to your viewers. So oftentimes, in the case of this, our book and research allowance, we've always had as a process that the first quarter of the year is always a period of the release of the exchange rate that allows universities to now prepare a list of beneficiaries for subsequent payment. And we are now in second going to third quarter, and that hasn't been done. Earlier, we gave that kind of an open chest and space to government because we knew they were changing leadership. And in that regard, the procedural and bureaucratic delays, would have come in naturally. And so we needed to relax and allow government to settle in and then do the needful. Over the period, we've realized that post-April, May, and now in June, we really haven't had any significant development in that regard. And several efforts being made to get these things released to the universities for onward processing hasn't really been coming through well. And so we met as unions, and the broader resolution was that let's carry through the frustrations of members and let government know that things are not well in our various campuses, and that we are offering government quite a lot of space within the week to get these things done so that we wouldn't be moving into the realm of industrial unrest. And so basically that was the issue that we put out to the public.
So, I mean, two issues come up in your statement. You have the exchange rate and then book and research allowance. Could you explain what this is for us?
Yes, so the book and research allowance is basically a lump sum that is often paid to university, academic and non-academic staff for effort made in the previous year. And oftentimes there is a formula that government always uses in calculating the rate. That is more or less using an average of the last year's dollar performance. And because most of our research and publications are done using the dollar for global publications, often this particular lump sum is paid in dollar equivalent. And that requires that if payment is to be done, it has to be computed in the dollar rate, and then we paid in cedis. And so, like I said, we were supposed to have had this particular fixed amount of a rate from government. And that was in the first quarter of this year. But we relaxed because we wanted government to actually settle so that we could further engage to make sure that the rates are put across to universities through GTEC, and then the payment schedule now begins. And the payment process is what we should have been dealing with at this point, and not even about rates. And that is why you see a combination of the issuance of the rates as well as starting the payment process immediately, because per our traditional calendar, it has to be done before September, because the academic cycle, as you and I know, often begins from September and then move into the next year of 2026. And that is why we told government that whilst we reckon that these rates really have been delayed, it shouldn't really affect the payment cycle as we've always been experiencing. And so we're hoping that with this engagement, we should be able to get government issue the rate as quickly as possible, and then guide our universities to quickly start the payment process.
I see, but out of curiosity, why did UTAG to agree to peg its book and research allowance in dollars instead of cedis when, in our country, the national currency is the cedi?
Absolutely. Oftentimes, these are the questions we do get. But in the publication and research mode we do, as Africans and Ghanaians in particular, we really do not have that global publication platforms that as scholars that we cherish and know. And so, for instance, if you pick public publishing houses like Macmillan, Springer, Science Direct, Elsevier, you're talking of Lancet and many of these other standardized global publication platform, everything is in dollar. And so you may have to convert your CD into the dollar to publish. And so that is why when government historically was to now support us to be publishing, it was agreed that since we publish by paying in dollar form, why don't we now fix this particular allowance in that dollar form so that the market determines that freely, instead of us saying putting it in CD, and with our CD not being very stable, unlike until now, was something that we had as a challenge.
I see.
Why not? If we are lucky going forward, like the way the stability has come to the CD, it's if we are able to sustain it as a country, it then becomes important that gradually we can now plan around the rate, the local rate.
Very well.
And then consistently, we should be able to publish by using the CD to pay.
Prof, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for talking to us. Professor Iddrisu Mumuni is a National Secretary for UTAG. You're here on News Central Live on TV3. I'm Kemini Amano. When we come back, we'll take you to the Ashanti region, where the final rites of passage for the Asante Mampong Hene is underway. Welcome back to News Central here on TV3. Let's take you to the Ashanti region now, because for 20 years he has occupied the Silver Stool, the second highest traditional authority in the Ashanti region or the Ashanti Kingdom. The paramount chief of Asante Mampong, Dasibre Osei-Bonsu II, joins his ancestors today after 3 days of burial rites, also known in the Akan parlance as Dotiye. Our team on the ground, led by William Evans Inum, are joining us now with a few more with the live coverage of the event. But first, let's watch this before Evans joins us.
It's a solemn moment here at the forecourt of the Amani Mampong stool, the silver stool, of course, the seat of the late Mampong Hene. And of course, he's the second in command to the Santehene when it comes to the Asante Kingdom. Today, array of personalities are expected here. Most importantly, the overlord of the Asante Kingdom, the Ken Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II, is expected here. Of course, we're also expecting the arrival of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, and former President of the Republic. We're talking about His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor. So when Otumfuo arrives, first he will make his way to the Mampong Palace, where he will far past the late Dasibre Osei-Bonsu. Then afterwards, he will come and then sit in state. So this is where he...
Well, Evans is joining us now. William, good afternoon to you. We see some kind of cultural display behind you. Talk to us about what is happening.
So it's part of the end of the dossier for the up-rank or the up-rank of the Amani of the Silver Stool, Dasibre Osei-Bonsu. Not too long ago, we started a session, led by the grandmother of Iddrisu.
Evans, I'm afraid we'll have to end our conversation because of the poor audio from the ground. We can hear the drumming and all the traditional things going on a lot more than we can hear you. Perhaps we can go back to that earlier package Evans, together with a team on ground, brought in.
It's a solemn moment here at the forecourt of the Amani Mampong stool, the silver stool, of course, the seat of the late Mampong Hene. And of course, he's the second in command to the Santehene when it comes to the Asante Kingdom. Today, array of personalities are expected here. Most importantly, the overlord of the Asante Kingdom, the Ken Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II, is expected here. Of course, we're also expecting the arrival of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, and former President of the Republic. We're talking about His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and His Excellency John Agyekum Kufuor. So when Otumfuo arrives, first he will make his way to the Mampong Palace, where he will far past the late Dasibre Osei-Bonsu. Then afterwards, he will come and then sit in state. So this is where he is expected to be seated, and already arrangements have been made. We're going to see various chiefs from the various paramouncies also taking their seat, and of course the Santehene will also be here together with his elders. Now, facing the Santehene directly will be His Excellency, the President of the Republic, and of course other dignitaries. Already we've spoken about the fact that we're going to see the arrival of His Excellency, the former President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and John Agyekum Kufuor. All of them will be at the dais, together with some ministers of state and of course some members of parliament and other high-profile dignitaries. They are all expected to be here, and today will be the final day for the Dotiye.
William Evans Inum with that report from the final rites of passage of the Asante Mampong Hene. Now, away from that, the acting chief executive officer of the National Petroleum Authority, Godwin Iddrisu Tamaklo, has welcomed the postponement of the implementation of the fuel levy by the Ghana Revenue Authority. He spoke on New Day.
What this has done is that constructive engagement has helped to avert what would have become an industry problem. And that is why I want to single out these individuals, particularly the oil marketing companies, for agreeing with government that instead of the implementation starting today, we'll stagger it or postpone it to the 16th. We realize that, yes, of course, they have raised very legitimate concerns. So once the matter came to the GRA commissioner and the finance minister, he felt that the concerns they have raised perfect. And that is why he said, look, in the circumstance, and if you read the statement carefully, COMAC is really not against the one city. It is the implementation, because to them, it is going to bring additional financial burden to them. And for me, this is welcoming. What it has done is that it has made my work a bit more easier for me at NPA, because the implementation is at my end, the downstream. And this would have created a problem. But thankfully, the finance minister saw wisdom in the concern they've raised and has agreed. And I've noticed that COMAC has also issued a statement to that effect. I just want to thank them for that magnanimity, in averting a potential industrial action.
Iddrisu Tamaklo is CEO of the National Petroleum Authority. Now, this new date for implementation is now June 16, 2025, instead of the initially announced June 9th today. And it will mean that from June 16th, there will be 1 cedi extra per litre on light oils, motor spirits, super and petrol. We'll also see the same for diesel, as well as marine gas oil, where we expect some 20 pesos increase. We can now turn attention to recycling, because what can reduce the plastic waste menace in Ghana and solve the problem of children sitting on the bare floor to study in the classroom? The answer lies in the innovative work of a young man, Makafui Ewuku, who is transforming plastic waste into school desks for children. Portia Gabo has more.
When Makafui Ewuku's asthma worsened from the burning of plastic waste in his neighborhood as a child, he knew he had to come up with an innovative idea to solve the plastic waste menace in Ghana.
Over time, when I grew up, I developed asthmatic allergies because I've been inhaling a lot of these poisonous items and materials. That has fueled my imagination and innovative thinking about how to solve the problem. Somebody called me the last plastic bender recently. People call me the baller man. I mean, people call all kinds of names, but it's good.
Every day, tons of plastic waste are dumped in the sea and on the shorelines. According to the Global Plastic Action Partnership, Ghana generates around 1.1 million tons of plastic waste every year, 5% of which is collected for recycling. Statistics from the Education Management Information System show that 40% of basic school pupils have no furniture, with over 1 million desks shortage. So Makafui came up with an idea. He decided to solve these two challenges with one stone by personally collecting the plastic waste for a good cause.
I've been asking myself, can I turn plastic waste into a raw material that can fix some of these problems? So I look at education and I see thousands of schools and thousands of children are learning on the bare floor in schools. And I'm thinking, these kids are developing health problems. They might eventually lose interest in education entirely and become street kids. and they have dreams, and these kids have dreams, and I'm thinking, can I use the plastic waste to create desks? Those were the questions I've been trying to answer.
With the help of a carpenter, Makafui is transforming plastic waste into school decks.
I didn't know that this could be done, but through him I got to know it could be done. My children, my wife, even when they see any particles around, they pick and carry to his place, and within the vicinity we don't see waste bottles and then sachets lying down.
He is hopeful Ghanaians will appreciate the role of sustainability and segregate waste effectively. During the World Environment Day celebrations, government served notice of a ban on the use of wood for furniture as a means to reduce the felling of trees.
We're soon going to pass a directive. School furniture will no longer be made of wood. We will either use recycled plastic for our school furniture, or we will use metal furniture.
Making the declaration is key, because then innovators, organizations can start positioning themselves to start thinking where the opportunities are, what they can do to align with that kind of declaration.
Makafui is hopeful with innovative solutions, recycling and upcycling, the plastic waste menace can be curbed to empower future generations. Indeed, something useful can come out of plastic waste into the classroom.
When we donate this and when we install this in schools, the smile on the faces of the kids, it makes me very happy and very teary, so I feel the impact.
Portia Gabo, TV3 News, Accra.
Portia Gabo with that report. Now, traffic and street lights are critical to maintaining order on our roads, providing visibility, regulating flow, and safeguarding lives. In Tamale, however, a growing number of these systems are failing, raising concerns about road safety and urban management. Christopher Mwako reports.
The smooth flow of traffic is an essential factor for both economic growth and public safety. However, in recent time, an alarming rise in dysfunctional streets and traffic lights in the greater Tamale metropolis has become a pressing concern, leaving citizens to question the whereabouts and effectiveness of city authorities. Whereas the traffic lights control movement of vehicles, motorcycles, and pedestrians, the street lights, on the other hand, lightens up the streets to ensure visibility at night. The two combined will not only control movement and make visibility easier, but also reduce the high incidence of accidents.
This is the central business town of Tamale, and for the past 5 months, this traffic light has not been functional. Several accidents have occurred here, both during the day and at night. Unfortunately, the street light is also not functional, and so pedestrians and motorists find it difficult to regulate their movement whenever they get to this particular stretch.
As night falls, the entire stretch is engulfed in darkness, severely affecting visibility and movement, while officials of the Motor Transport and Traffic Directorate of the Ghana Police Service are positioned at the spot to control traffic on weekdays and during the day. The situation becomes even worse at night and on weekends.
Early morning, we have some police. They will come and stand here and controlling the traffic. After the 12 to 1, maybe they can go and rest. So after that, you will see a lot of people that suffer to cross, and the drivers, you can see that they are crashed.
Vehicular movement needs to be controlled. So here's the case, it's not controlled, and people are moving about their daily lives and they want to certainly get to their destination. So there's always chaos in here.
Recently, the Deputy Minister of Roads and Highways and Member of Parliament for Tamale North Constituency, Alhassan Suyini, while commissioning a repaired traffic light at Agric Junction in Tamale, gave an assurance that all dysfunctional traffic lights in the metropolitan area would be fixed.
We all know how busy this road is, and as a result of the dysfunctional nature of the traffic lights, many accidents have happened on this road. And so it has become a headache to many motorists and residents of this, metropolis.
Although government charges a 1% street lighting levy on all domestic electricity sales to fund the operational and maintenance of street lights, the glaring challenges on the dark streets seems the monies collected are not used for its purposes. Metropolitan Chief Executive of Tamale, Adam Abu Takoro, admits the situation is posing safety threats to commuters, but assured the Assembly is working to fix the situation.
We realize that the lighting system is on, but most of the streets are off. And we intend as an assembly to fix those things whilst waiting for the central government. It is not easy to fix the whole of Tamale Metropolis street lights because it entails cost. It's capital investment.
The Ghana Statistical Service reports that pedestrians knocked down account for nearly 40% of road fatalities, with inadequate lighting playing a significant role in these tragic incidents. Also, statistics from the Motor Traffic and Transport Department, MTTD, of the Ghana Police Service also revealed that approximately 30% of road crashes in the country occur during the night and at dawn. These staggering figures highlights the urgent need to address the issue to curb these preventable crashes and save lives.
Christopher Mwako, TV3 News, Tamale.
In the studio, I'm Kemini Amano. That will be all for News Central today. We're back same time tomorrow with another edition. Thank you so much for your company and have a good one. Bye-bye.